Most women are told that if they want a man to care more, they need to ask for it, communicate more, explain their needs, tell him what they expect. But here's the truth nobody says out loud. The more you ask a man to step up, the less he feels like stepping up. Because real investment from a man doesn't come from pressure, it comes from instinct. And there's a specific instinct inside every man, a switch most women completely overlook. I call it the provider reflex. When this reflex is activated, a man doesn't need reminders. He doesn't need instructions. He doesn't need to be told what to do. He wants to give. He wants to show up. He wants to take care of things. And the most powerful part, you don't trigger it by saying more. You trigger it by doing less, but doing it right. Let me explain. The first trigger is selective independence. Most women think independence means, I don't need anything from a man. But here's the reality. If a man feels like you don't need him at all, his role disappears. And when his role disappears, so does his drive to provide. But the woman who activates the provider reflex does something different. She can handle her life, but she doesn't block him from contributing. She allows space. She lets him help without making it feel like he's being tested. And that's the key. A man doesn't step up where he feels unnecessary. He steps up where he feels useful. So if you quietly allow him to add value, without announcing it, without controlling it, you give his instincts a place to operate, and that's where everything begins. The second trigger is appreciation without performance. Now, this is where most people get it wrong. They think appreciation means praising everything he does, but that's not what activates a man. What activates him is authentic recognition. When a man feels that what he does actually matters, he naturally wants to do more of it, not because you asked, but because it feels good to provide. A simple moment, acknowledging his effort, noticing something small he did, that hits deeper than constant requests ever will, because pressure creates resistance, but appreciation creates expansion. He leans in, he invests more. He starts thinking, I like how I feel around her. And that feeling becomes addictive. The third trigger is emotional calm. This one is powerful. A man's provider instinct is deeply connected to how he feels in your presence. If he feels tension, criticism, emotional chaos, his focus shifts from giving to defending himself. But when he feels calm, respected, at ease, something changes. He drops his guard. And when a man drops his guard, he opens up his effort. He becomes more attentive, more present, more willing to give without being asked. Because now being around you doesn't drain him, it restores him. And a man will always invest more where he feels at peace. The fourth trigger, and this is the most important, is silent standards. A woman who constantly explains what she wants teaches a man to respond only when told, but a woman who moves with quiet standards changes the entire dynamic. She doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, she doesn't over-explain. She simply observes and responds accordingly. If he steps up, she receives it. If he doesn't, she doesn't force it. She adjusts her presence, and that's what creates pressure, without words, because now the man feels something subtle. He feels that to keep her, he needs to rise, not because she demanded it, but because her standard made it clear. And that's when the provider reflex fully activates. Now he's not reacting to your words, he's responding to your energy. Now here's the truth that ties everything together. A man doesn't become a provider because you asked him to. He becomes a provider because something in you made him want to be that man. And that desire cannot be forced. It has to be triggered. So if you want him to care more, to invest more, to show up without being told, stop focusing on what to say. Start focusing on what you allow, what you reinforce, and what you embody. Because when you trigger the right instinct, you don't have to ask for effort anymore. He gives it naturally. This is a Love Talks nation, where we don't chase attention, we understand how to attract it.